So the meeting for the Board of Health for May 13th, Monday, is in session. All members are present. I'd like to thank Libby Reichman for the service on the board for maybe 6 years, I think. And I'd like to welcome Chris Mills to the board starting tonight as an EMT and having worked in construction, I'm sure he'll be a big asset. The minutes from April 8th. Does anybody want to make a motion to accept those minutes?
I make a motion to accept the minutes from April 8th, 2019.
You second?
Second?
All those in favor? Aye. So the first order of business is board reorganization with Libby Reichman having been the chair. She's now gone. We have to talk about reorganizing the board.
I nominate Lynn LeBlanc to be the new chair of the Board of Health.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so now we're just waiting on one person who'll be here shortly. Kit, do you think it's better to just wait or to move on to item B?
I think you can ask Mark Worcester. Is it Worcester?
It's Michael Worcester.
I'm sorry, Michael Worcester.
And Mike-
Yeah, if he wants to wait for Jay or if he wants to, perhaps.
If we can wait a few minutes
Sure,
for Jay,
sure.
that would be awesome, thank you.
That's fine. Why don't we go on to item B, a request for the approval of a grant of Title
Oh, I'm
V.
sorry. Did I, let's go back to Board of Health reorganization. We need a vice chair.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I nominate Aria. I can never say it, Arias, as
Second?
vice chair.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, so, B, request for approval of the grant of Title V nitrogen loading restriction and easement for the proposed Eastondale Cottages, 120 Pine Street. Document dated April 30th, 2019, submitted by Eastondale LLC. It's on page 26.
So this is actually, you already approved the Title V restriction and easement, you just have to accept the easement by signing it.
Okay,
So this was the Eastondale Cottages, if you remember, 121 Pine Street, the physical location is within Zone 2 of the Aquifer Protection District, but doesn't have enough acreage for the number of bedrooms that they wanted to place on it. They were purchasing another piece of land to combine. What the document you have for your signatures this evening is the document that places a use restriction on that other piece of land that will allow the former owner to still use it for activities like dirt biking and camping and things like that, but specifically verbiage has been added after reviewing it with town council that will prohibit any application of sewage or any activities that would generate sewage on the property.
so basically we've made the decision, but tonight's the night we're gonna actually accept the variance.
You're going to execute and accept the restriction and easement.
Okay. Any questions, concerns?
Nope.
Anybody wanna make a motion?
So I make a motion to approve and to execute the request for the approval of grant Title V nitrogen loading restriction and easement for the proposed Eastondale Cottages, dated April 30th, 2019.
You second?
Second?
All those in favor? Aye.
The
Okay.
document's right over there, Tim, for the signature.
So we're gonna change things up, and we're gonna go down to the variances for 430 Turnpike Street. Everybody's here that needs to be? Yeah?
Yes. I think so.
Okay, so I wasn't here the last meeting, but I read up a little on it. It's a request for the relief from the local Board of Health regulation, the town code 350-13 sewer disposal systems on site, properties with reduction in water consumption. Do you wanna come to the table and introduce yourself and explain? Thank you.
Michael Worcester, 7 Union Street.
Okay. And so do you want to give us a brief synopsis again? Chris is new tonight. I did read up on it, but I wasn't here last week, you and Kristen.
We're just looking for a variance for the water usage on the septic system. We ran a business out of that location for many years. I had an opportunity to move to a larger facility, and we sold the building. So the building sat vacant for a while without any water usage. The new owner is here. He hasn't moved into the building as well. I believe he's gonna use it for commercial as well.
And you sold the building when? September?
I believe it was September.
And it was vacant for a while?
It was vacant for a while previous to that.
So when, and I am gonna ask for clarification, I did read up on it, and I know we had a similar situation a while ago, but I guess it's like a burden of being able to prove whether or not the septic system is the way it needs to be because it's been vacant so long.
So it's a little bit different than the last one that you saw. In this scenario, it's a typical one in that you have a local regulation that says if a system is not actively in use, it cannot pass. It has to be deemed needs further evaluation, and the requirement of our local reg is that it be re-inspected 3 to 6 months after normal water flows are restored. That protects everybody involved and has the inspector looking at it while it's being used. You have had requests before to waive it right at the time of transfer. This one transferred fine. My understanding is the money is being held in escrow, which is a bank decision. But the problem is we're beyond the 3 to 6 month window now. Normal flows haven't been restored and the money is still sitting in escrow. One of the differences in when they were here last month was that the buyer was not present. Every other time the board has acted favorably on one of these requests, it's been with an informed consent type of atmosphere where all the parties involved understand what's going on and what protections may or may not be given up. Tonight you do have the buyer, so.
I was just gonna say, okay, so last month you were not here? Okay. Okay.
We
Question?
also have the person
Yeah,
that did the
I
inspection.
did the Title V inspection, and the regulation has a purpose. And under with this condition, I think you'll find that the system is relatively new. It was built and designed to the upgraded Title V regulations. It's had very little usage, and there's never been taxed, really, to its design potential since it was built. So the chances that it's going to fail, slim to none.
And if it fails, who bears that burden? It would be,
The new owner, but here again, it's essentially new. You know, it has not been typically, especially the systems that are designed by the new Title V regulation. Well, it's not so new anymore, but I mean, they have a minimum of a 20-year life unless they've been completely abused. So the idea that it would fail for the new owner is pretty slim.
and so I guess it's a time constraint, or is it the money being in escrow that we can't, you're not gonna, because until you buy the property?
Until I can give the bank a Title V inspection that says passes. See, right now, it's a conditional, needs further evaluation, and a bank won't accept that. So they've held money in escrow because of that, you know, and then the reinspection would reinforce that the system's okay. So, with that, without having usage, that can't happen. However,
You can't have usage until,
you can't, yeah, but even, I guess my point is even not having usage, once it is being used, the idea that it could fail would be very slim. I mean, I would say 100% that it would not fail. So now we need to be able to turn in a passable Title V inspection report that can be turned to the bank so that the escrow money can be released. So that's what.
and just for the audience out there, could you just tell us who you are? Because people that might be watching.
I was the Title V inspector.
Thank you.
So just a couple, again, for the people at home, Title V does not assign responsibility in the whole inspection process to any one person. Title V says if you're going to transfer a property, an inspection needs to be done prior to. If the ground's too frozen, you have a little bit of wiggle room. Far and few between that we can't get them in because of frozen ground. Title V just says you have to do the inspection. It says if it fails, it has to be replaced within 2 years. It doesn't assign, doesn't say you can't transfer it. The banks do come into play because the banks now have a financial investment that they're protecting, and that's where we are right now, is that we've got a report that says, according to your regulation, it needs further evaluation. That was put in, I could get into the whole history lesson of why it was there, and I know Jay would back me up. There's a lot of
It's not a bad
times.
regulation. It has its purposes.
Right, right.
It's just, this may be an unintended consequence of an extremely lightly used system. And I think one of the factors the last time the board looked at it was the fact that the buyer was not here and was giving up the protection of that $16,000 sitting in the bank.
And from the health agent's perspective, there's really no public health risk with this, because we have somebody that would take responsibility and correct any problems if there were any. Which
Do
they
we
may.
know that though?
So, I'm not holding the money. Sorry.
Rob, can you introduce yourself,
Yes,
please?
Rob Pelfrey, owner of 430 Turnpike. So the situation is, I'm not holding the money. I do not have that money. So when the property was purchased, in order for the sale of the property to go through, the bank, because we had a conditional septic, was that they did a holdback 1.5 times the amount that it would cost to replace the septic should it fail. The reason being that once it was used and it was tested, if it did fail, the bank wanted that money in place to make sure that it was protected if they had to replace it. So they're protecting their investment. So we all signed a piece of paper basically stating that we agreed to that. I've talked to Northeastern Savings Bank. I've talked to them many times about this, and they basically said, without a Title V, we are not releasing that money. It's not me. I'm not holding that money. It's the bank that's holding that money. So as we have done, so as Mike mentioned, it sat vacant for them for a while. Once we got in there and we started to get things, we were turning on water and what have you, and unfortunately, numerous leaks. The bathroom flooded twice, from leaks that were from corroded pipes, what have you. We had to shut the water off a few times. Now the water, we've addressed all the leaks. I want Mike and Mark to get their money. I'm not holding the money. It's not my money. I want them to have it. So even though we were not in there, I'm talking to Mark periodically. We have run the water full blast we're going beyond 2 months right now. It's not a trickle. The sinks are at full blast in that property. We are paying for the water they were not using so they can get their money. The only problem is I don't know how much water flow, whether it's 3 months, Jay would know better than I, that how much water flow needs to run through there before it can be
See,
tested.
90 days is a minimum according to the regulation.
And it's been, you said,
2 months, a
2 months.
little over 2 months.
And have you looked at it again at the 2-month mark?
I haven't looked at the system, no. I
Okay.
haven't re-inspected, but my proposal would be that we do go back, re-inspect, and allow a passing.
I would agree with Jay. I would suggest that you make a motion to,
in a month or now?
well, it's been running for 2 months.
Yeah, I'd
Okay,
say.
so that, you said
I
a
would say do
minimum
it
of
now.
90
I
days.
think
I
we
didn't
can
know.
overlook.
Our reg says
overlook that.
3 to 6
Okay.
months. I would say that you give relief and allow for the inspection to proceed at 2 months. And
Yeah.
then it's even cleaner.
See, originally, my original thing was, the system is not very old, so it's been upgraded. It's not like it's 25 years old or 30 years old and iffy.
Right.
This one's pretty cut and dry.
2007.
The only thing that took it out was the lack of water use. So that's where.
I understand, yeah.
So,
I would say make a motion to allow the inspection to proceed at 45 days. We'll cut it down even just in case though your 2 months is a little less.
So let me ask you this.
That's a great idea.
Like I said, it's not my decision. It's the Northeastern Savings Bank's decision. They have that money. Are they going to be, is there gonna be something in that document that says, even though we are saying 90 days, we're doing it at,
my
They're
opinion.
gonna
I think they just need a pass from us.
They would grant a waiver to allow the inspection to happen at 45 days. That gives Jay permission to do
As
45.
long as they don't
Right,
be on the
pass.
first page. If they see the.
They just
pass,
wanna see the,
they're good. You know, the box that says pass, fail, that's, I believe that's all they're interested in.
I would,
Yeah.
do you have any questions or things to add?
No,
I think that's reasonable if the water's been running for 45
Absolutely.
days to 2 months.
it's funny because the burden of responsibility falls on the purchaser. You know, and the mortgage company, I mean, if you're not moving in, you're not moving in, but you buy a car, you have 30 days warranty on it, a used car. After the 30 days, this is like a really, you know, do you have to do something to prevent this from happening again as a board? But that's,
It's an extenuating circumstance.
yeah,
Right.
It
yeah,
was
I mean,
a little different
and,
very
than,
unique.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's, isn't that why, didn't they back in like 2000, 2001 get away from the escrow thing just with residential?
No.
Has nothing to do with us.
Yeah. No, I know that, I know that, but the banks did, I thought.
Some
Because-
banks will do holdbacks, others won't. But
Yeah.
It still happens.
They have the power. They can do what they want. But to release it, they're just looking for a report that says pass.
Yeah.
You have a regulation that says we can't do that till 90 days. You can waiver your own regulation to say, we're gonna allow it at 45 days.
And you'll accept my new report. That's
And
what,
then-
that's what this was.
So, let me ask you this before we vote on this, I just wanna make sure everyone here is protected. You know, I want the Worcesters to get their money, I want, 45 days, you tested, there's not a, because it's technically been sitting for, how long did you have it vacant?
Lease.
If you had no usage for at least 90 days prior to.
Yeah.
The
September.
last documented usage was 25 gallons a day. That's what we're looking for you to match.
How much would a sink running full blast 24 hours a day?
Yeah, way more than
Hundreds.
Yeah.
a couple hundred probably.
Jay's gonna pull the water records as part of it anyway, so.
As long as you can do an honest, I don't wanna cut corners on this because I don't,
I honestly don't think that there's any liability to you here, because the system, like I say, is essentially new. It's has very little tax on that system since it was built. So,
And from what I'm hearing, 90 days minimum, 45 is really reasonable to go in and recheck it. That's what I'm hearing
if
from.
I see anything clear,
That's what I heard.
Harry, do you have anything?
No, I'm ready to make a motion.
I mean, are you comfortable?
my only concern is, and I was actually talking to Northeastern Savings on the way here. I mean, and it's per their judgment, and you guys know better than I, but, if the regulations say 9 months, or 3 months,
see, they're not aware that the regulation is strictly specific to Easton.
It's a local rec. It's
It's a
something
local-
the
it's
Board of
not-
Health
well, I know,
drafted.
but they know, they're a local bank.
I don't think they go that deep, quite frankly, honestly.
But what I'm saying is, I have no problem with the testing.
Mhm.
But what I don't want to happen is, you to test it, the Worcester's gonna have to pay to have this tested,
Mhm.
and then the bank come back and say, it's not been 3 months. I would be more apt to you saying, there's been a reasonable amount of water flowing through there. Like I said, it has been blowing full bore for over 2 months.
That would be part of the report.
Because
That
he'll
would be
pull
in
the
the
new
report.
water
Okay.
report,
That
and
would
that'll
be
be at the end of the
in-
report.
But I'm here to tell you, I doubt the bank will go that deep.
Okay.
I believe they look at the box that says passes, and they put it in their file and they're good.
I'm not sure, but I don't think a bank would have like that kind of jurisdiction to say, well, no, you didn't wait 90 days. That wouldn't be, if the board
So they're
agrees.
looking for that first page to say passed. This is a local regulation that was, I'll be honest, it was born out of properties that had a pass, transferred, and 3 months, 6 months later,
Yeah.
when somebody did move in, the system failed.
No, that's, and I'm not, trust me, I'm just trying to play devil's advocate in regards to, because I was on the phone with them as I walked in.
Sure.
And they said to me, we decide when the money's released. And I just wanna make sure that all our, I don't wanna delay this anymore, I make sure all our i's are dotted, our t's are crossed, but they were very clear to me, we'll decide when the money's released.
So would they come before the board again next
No.
month? Or we
No,
can
You're
talk-
gonna grant a variance, all you can do
This
is
is it.
grant a variance from your regulation. And what I would suggest is that you grant a variance to allow it to happen at 45 days as
Okay.
opposed to 90 days. They can do what they want
So
with it after
time-wise,
that.
I don't think that will be an issue then, that was the question, yeah.
Jay would do a reinspection, he'll complete a whole nother package, and it will either pass or fail.
Yeah, and that would be, I think that's reasonable.
And if it were to fail, would that
That's a whole.
sort of liability
We
be
don't-
on?
The bank uses that money that they're holding
Sure.
to fix the septic.
Here again, if it were 30 years old,
Yeah,
20 years old, it's not, and it hasn't really been used to its capacity ever, so.
I mean, the protection you're giving up is that 45 more days from now, if you are in there with your employees and it fails. It was a snapshot at the time, and that's that.
That's my concern with the bank, that's what they're gonna say.
is it, so we're back to that, but I'm thinking that, well, for the,
I've never
We
seen the bank dig
yeah.
that deep. What I'm asking though is if you, because the regulation got put in place because somebody in your position down the road, it did fail and came back and sued.
Well, I just wanna make sure that the water flow is, I mean, like I said, it's been flowing.
If you're doing what you're doing, it's probably more flow than this thing has ever seen, quite
I
frankly.
mean, the document of the report itself is pretty long,
Sure.
and it was averaged out at 25 gallons per day. That's what we'd be looking for it to be restored to, was the last normal flow for that system.
and when Kristen, you said they're gonna look at water records to prove that there's been enough water flowing. So your concern of like, is that gonna be enough time, that would be answered if
Yeah,
you
if
take
you
the
look
water
at the
records?
inspection report, part of the complete report includes the printout, the water use records.
Okay,
So
and
that
so,
would be in the report as well.
so before it even becomes your property, you'll know all that. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is the board ready to make a decision?
Yeah.
I make a motion to waive the 90-day regulation and change it to a 45-day reassessment for the water flow and relief of the local board of health regulation, town code 35013 sewage disposal systems for 430 Turnpike Street.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. So, that's a go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Appreciate the time.
That was different. You really gave Chris a new
This first
one.
night workout.
First night.
Jay, you have to change the report then, right?
Yeah, I have
You'll
to
do a
do, I
new
gotta
report.
do a new report.
Oh, that's right, I'm
Gotta
sorry.
do a new one. So,
Thanks
you.
again.
All
Thank
right,
you.
let us know
Thank
if
you.
anything comes up.
Yeah, I'll get in there this week and do it.
Okay, so. We're gonna move on to C. Discussion regarding the petition requesting the restriction of mint and menthol tobacco products to retail tobacco stores. we had Dr. Hartman come out, and he spoke a while ago, Chris.
I saw.
You saw them,
Mhm.
so I don't have to get into that. And I know there's a lot going on at the state level with them questioning this. Was this on the agenda last week? I thought I saw it was. Was it tabled? Okay.
It was tabled.
Okay. Kristen?
So you have been presented with a petition to consider restricting mint and menthol tobacco products to the retail tobacco stores. So we have stores that can sell tobacco that includes mint and menthol, like the, your gas stations, your small convenience stores. We have another category of retail outlets where tobacco is sold called retail tobacco stores. The difference being a retail tobacco store can sell flavored, but you have to be 21 to go in there. And their primary business is the sale of tobacco. We have one in town. So what this petition was asking you to do was take those mint and menthols out of the easily accessible convenience store, gas station environment and move them over into the retail tobacco stores. In order to do that, you would have to amend your regulation. You'd have to change your regulation, which would involve a public hearing. But we're at the point where we need that direction from the actual Board of Health as to whether or not that's something you want to undertake. Do you want to continue to monitor what's going on at the state level? What action do you, as the Board of Health, want to take? You could table it to next month to give everybody a chance just to see what else is going on. You could tell us to move ahead with a public hearing. It's completely
When I
up to
read
you.
the studies, because I thought, well, is it really an issue that is a public health issue? And it did, from what the stuff I read that Hartman had and that was in our packets last week, it really looks like there's a lot of young people using it. So they're getting kind of initiated into using nicotine. A lot of them, I guess a majority of them, according to these studies, by using menthol and mint. So in that way, I'm thinking, well, it is kind of a public health thing, because we all know what's going on right now with all the electronic devices. And I know the state's already looking into it, so I feel like there's a lot more discussion that we need to have on it. What are you guys thinking?
I mean, honestly, my thoughts are that all tobacco products are already 21 plus. So I understand the potential for the public health challenge, but I also feel like it's already sort of regulated highly. So I don't personally know that it's gonna make much of a difference if just the mint and menthol do make it over to a smoke shop as opposed to a convenience store.
I kind of agree with you. I think the only thing you might achieve with that is hurting a business. I mean,
And I thought of that too.
and that's just my opinion. I mean, it's mint and menthol. I totally get the one tobacco shop that can have the pina colada flavored tobacco or whatever like that. I get that. And now you gotta be 21 to get it, so it's easy to monitor. Hey, I saw a kid going in there, what's going on? But to take it away from we don't even have any chain convenience stores in this town anymore. It's all,
I hear what you're saying,
Mom and
like,
pop
I
stuff.
always bring it back to, but I'm not here this isn't like a committee that just supports small business.
no.
So, but I hear what you guys are saying, that, is it really gonna make a difference? I don't know, our young kids are actually going in there and getting it, although I read the studies that say they were, are they doing that in our town? I don't know.
Well, you have to look at whether the studies were done in an environment where we were at tobacco 21. I mean, a lot of the information that you read in some of those studies talks about high schoolers being 18 and being able to go in and buy and share with their friends, and the menthol being less abrasive and all of that type of an atmosphere. But if the bottom line number is actually 21, have we just not seen the complete impact of that 21 being statewide?
Safest thing to do is to just table it.
I think.
Can we table it for like 6 months, or does it have to be?
We could table it
You
every
table
month.
every month if you
You
want.
can table it every month, or you can ask that we bring it back as new information arises. You can keep it in there every
I
month
mean,
for a check-in.
when will they have more substantial data on that? A year from now, maybe. But
You could look at it in September when schools go back and we're kind of in kid mode again, or you could look at it in August.
In the audits that we do for like alcohol, remind me, are we doing that for tobacco in town, or is that more?
We do not. No.
That's right, because we
We
don't.
don't have funding, we
for that.
don't have.
So this is more like
I
global.
would say going back and looking at some of those studies, look at where they were done and look at whether or not they, I mean, while Easton has been 21 plus for a number of years, the Commonwealth didn't go to 21 plus until January.
True.
So there's a lot of issues to look at. There is no denying that it is a smoother smoke, they say, and that, it is more, it's easier for the kids. More appealing.
but that then comes down to an enforcement issue. I mean, they're still only supposed to sell to people 21. And if I'm 18 years old and I'm going to have somebody buy tobacco,
They can get it at the other shop.
they can go to the other place. So I don't see the point in even touching it. It's just an enforcement issue that.
I know, like, from working on the Easton Wings of Hope, they would say just try to make the market less and less, and I do agree with that. I just feel like I just want, I personally would just like more information. I mean,
We can continue to monitor what's out there, what's being done, and provide you with a monthly update for now if you want, or.
why don't we, because there is stuff going on in the government, they are like looking at this, so. But,
Yeah, I think that sounds
do you want to make a
Oh,
motion, or do you?
Does this require a motion?
No? Oh, we're good, so we'll just do that.
It's a discussion item. As is the next one, tobacco accessories versus marijuana accessories, and again, a lot of that language is still shifting out too. I really don't have anything new to add to that right now. The CBD
Yeah.
edibles is kind of the one we're trying to tackle first. As far as, there's like 4 different issues in this scheme of things right now.
Are you guys okay tabling that as well? Just
Mhm.
kind of keeping it open?
Absolutely.
Yes. All right. And the nursing contract, discussion of that.
So I will be meeting with town council tomorrow just to go over the language, and hopefully we will be entering into a short-term contract with one individual to continue some of our scope of
And
services.
you know about the Board of Health nurse, we lost her.
Yes.
And do you, Chris?
Yeah. So hopefully that's going to move ahead, and hopefully the next time we're sitting here, I will be telling you that I have an executed agreement.
Great. So F, sewer tie-in agreement, Gaslight Village 2 condos.
This is not ready for your signature tonight. I was hoping that we would be executing an agreement tonight. So within Title V, there is a process where if somebody has a failed septic system, in lieu of fixing it, if the sewer is imminent, they can enter into an agreement with the Board of Health to tie into that sewer as soon as it's available, as opposed to spending money on upgrading. Gaslight Village 2 condos has a septic system that is in failure. We've known it's been in failure. They've done a fantastic job maintaining it in a way that does not jeopardize the public health. They pump much more frequently than I wish they had to. But this is a whole nother little segue with the whole Title V and real estate transfer piece. Because they have a failed Title V and nothing else, some of the unit owners are having trouble transferring their properties, even though Title V says we don't get involved in that. So what town council has done, at our request, he's developed an agreement that basically the condo association and the Board of Health can enter into that says we all know it's failed. We all know the fix is coming. We all know the timetable. The town is financially committed to putting that sewer out in front of it. It's coming no matter what. And by executing that agreement, they'll be bound to tying in. I think we agreed on 90 days after it is available to them, within 90 days of it being available. But it will help anybody trying to transfer, because now they'll have the failed and they'll have the fix. Their engineers also reached out, and we're trying to work out some things as far as having it completely designed and ready to go as well. So, but I don't have it. They did not sign it at their Board of Trustees agreement meeting, and they hopefully will be doing that the 21st. So hopefully we'll see that the next time.
Okay, that sounds good. G, authorization of Kristen Kennedy to act for Board of Health and executing sewer tie-in agreements.
So going forward, rather than them having to wait to come in front of the board for a once-a-month meeting, town council had suggested, and I thought I would throw it out there as to whether or not you would want to authorize me to sign those particular agreements where a septic system has failed, the sewer is coming, and we set a reasonable time frame for it to be tied into with, and I'm allowed to add, the agreement itself has conditions in it as far as maintaining the pumping, using low flow water devices, things like that, whether or not you would be comfortable just authorizing me to sign on your behalf.
This is just Gaslight Village, or 2 condos, or everywhere?
Going forward,
Okay.
again, with the caveat that if I was uncomfortable, I definitely would bring it to you. And these are situations where the system has failed, they are agreeing in writing to tie in as soon as the sewer is there, and they are agreeing in writing to maintain the system so that it's not a public health hazard. It's just whether or not you want to wait.
Just one question. If, and maybe this is so never gonna happen, it's not even an issue, what if they decide not to do the sewer? And it
They
was-
can't, they're
They cannot.
obligated.
Okay.
They're obligated
Making
to
sure.
it. And this could be any of the three. Well, this sewer district is done, this could be Queesit.
Mm-hmm.
We could have a scenario that tomorrow a system has failed. They're ready to enter into an agreement because they have a closing, and the sewer is going to be available in 3 weeks, or 4 weeks, or a month. We also have the third scenario, which the money has already been committed to build it. The town has financially, this is only allowed when the town has made the financial commitment to construct it. That was done at a previous town meeting. They have yet to award the contract, they have yet to do the actual borrowing to finance it, but they've already been authorized to do it.
I mean, I don't know how we do this, but I would be fine with it.
Do we have to make a motion for this?
Yep, you would have to make a motion to
okay.
authorize Kristen Kennedy to enter into.
I make a motion to authorize Kristen Kennedy to act for the Board of Health in executing sewer tie-in agreements.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Kind of threw me because I wasn't sure if we were gonna make a motion or what.
Yes, because you deputized me.
H, the annual town meeting warrant review.
So the final town meeting warrant is out. Article 2 is reauthorization of the spending limits. This doesn't change typically year to year. It's just, we have a couple of revolving funds. One is for vaccinations and one is for the betterment fees. We can only spend $10,000 out of vaccine and $5,000 out of betterment fees, according to this schedule. We've never come close to spending that. Anyway, Article 3 deals with your compensation as members and reauthorization of that. Article 13 is the septic loan program. And I submitted this requesting authorization to borrow another $1 million for upgrading of septic systems. We currently have 2.7 something out there and probably another
400
committed to loans. So this will just allow us to seamlessly keep going. We typically borrow in $500,000 increments.
hopefully it's not a dumb question, but when someone borrows for that program, are they borrowing it from the town itself, or is it from a bank that the town authorizes?
They're borrowing it from the town. The
Okay.
town is borrowing the money from the Water Pollution Abatement Trust at 2%. We're loaning it out at 4%. We collect the money back in and we make our payment.
Oh, so they make 2% on,
2% is to cover billing.
Sure.
And, you know, all the administrative pieces that go along. And actually, there's a statute that says you have to charge 2% over what you're being charged, so it's
Mhm.
not an arbitrary number. But no, it does not go against their credit report. It comes on their tax bill. It's spread out over 20 years. The 20 years is the expected lifespan of a septic system. You'll see when the betterments go through, that number is going to be spread out typically over 30 years because that's the expected lifespan before anything needs to be done to a sewer. Just like a car loan, you only get 5, 6, 7 years before it's not worth what you might have borrowed.
So this $1 million is going into the betterment fund.
It will, what'll happen is, it's just at town meeting, they'll authorize the town to borrow it. As Tim is pretty much the one who, runs the program now, we get approval, pre-approval of a $500,000 line of credit from that Water Pollution Abatement Trust. As we do the loans, we draw it down. When it gets close to the bottom, we borrow another $500,000. But we can't do that if town meeting hasn't authorized. So if we ran out of money, we'd be sitting here going, okay, everybody, sorry, we'll do it in November, sorry. So we tend to have this authorization in our back pocket long before we need it.
So nothing we have to do with that?
Nope.
Okay.
Got a couple of slides that I used for the presentation to the Board of Selectmen when we submitted the article that I may tweak. It's 5 slides, I may tweak it down to 3 that'll be there if we need to speak to it. And this is the 5th or 6th time I'm doing this, and
No one's ever.
I think I got up and spoke once on it, but
So the arborvirus, tick-borne and mosquito-borne illnesses. I had a mosquito in my house too. Actually, Saturday.
oh, come spray your yard, check the whole thing.
It's probably like toxic.
No.
Anything.
so side story. So I live at 11 Maria Street. You come down and Maria Street goes this way and Barbara's Way goes this way. So last week we got a package that was for 11 Barbara's Way in our mailbox. Friday we got the mosquito treatment that was to be done in 11 Barbara's Way. So I found the invoice on my front stairs. I called the company. I said, "You had a service call at 11 Barbara?" "Yeah, you treated 11 Maria."
Barbara Maria.
That's good for you.
Yeah. So Kit had reached out to Bristol County Mosquito Control for a start date on the adult deciding. They've already done the larviciding when they dump into the swamp and attempt to keep the mosquitoes from even hatching. You can see from the email that Kit provided you, their target date is around May 28th. They do need the temperatures to be above 55 for them to do their spraying. They'll start taking requests in about a week or so. We'll have that information up on our website for people to request. Additionally, Mark is in the schools this week with the tick lab, the bite lab.
Yeah, it's either this week or next week.
It's either this week or next week that Mark Taylor, our other health agent, will be in the 4th grade classrooms, providing an educational module on the different types of critters that are out there that bite and carry illnesses. He'll be providing tick identification cards to every student that he deals with, and it's always a high point at the end of the school year.
I think it'll be the sun if it comes out.
I know, I was gonna
Pretty
say
awful summer
55
for
for how long?
Or if it's ever over 50.
I know, how long does it have to be over 55 for? Then we have a betterment application for 42 Western Ave.
Yeah, so, System's been failure, he's just looking for the, maximum of 30,000, hopefully it comes in less than that. We have evidence of the failure, he's clean with his taxes and all the other town bills, and, that's it. He's just looking to upgrade his system, he has a cesspool now, and, gonna get a traditional septic system.
Okay. Does anybody want to make a motion?
I make a motion to accept the betterment application for 42 Western Ave.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. And any special reports or agent reports?
Not that I can think of.
Alright.
We did have an incident, we're still following up with DEP of a spill of unknown origin that occurred behind one of our strip malls that houses 3 of our restaurants. Does not to appear to be anything that our restaurants did. May have actually been an attempt to secure the materials to generate biodiesel. So we will continue to support DEP in their follow-up and cleanup as that progresses.
Is it safe to be eating at these restaurants?
Oh, yeah, it was out in the
Ate
parking
there
lot.
Saturday, so
Yes.
it's fine.
I did as well, actually.
Yeah, no, it was a spill in a parking lot, so. I can't think of anything else.
All right, I make a motion to close the meeting May, 13th? Yeah?
Yep.
At 6:47.
Ding.
Sorry, who was the second on that one?
Oh.
Second.
Chris.